Greetings, YouTubians, and welcome back to Wayne Sharp World, where it is July 4th, 2021, and it's time to talk my favorite American-made knives. Now, I've seen all the other YouTube reviewers out there kind of give their list of their favorite knives made in America. I originally wasn't going to do this. I have a lot of plans today, but I saw all of them from so many other people. I thought, you know what? I've got to throw my 2 cents in on this. I've got a good amount of them, and I love my American-made knives. So I pulled them all out. This is just everything I have on hand as of right now. So it's not necessarily the best all time, but they're my favorites, and I think a lot of these would make some all-time great lists. And with that being said, we're going to get right into it. We're going to start off with a couple brands that have been 2 of my favorites, and I kind of got to thinking, and this is more of a light-hearted thought. I don't ever get political on this channel, but I thought it was just kind of funny. If I could pick 2 people from the knife industry to run this country, who would it be? And again, this is just a completely random thought, not very serious at all, but I came up with 2 people. Dave Wattenberg of Protech and Jason McCoy from Microtech. And now just bear with me here and take a look at this. What do you think here? Wattenberg McCoy 24, make it in America. That's pretty awesome, isn't it? Yeah, I thought it was kind of funny. Anyway, that was my joke of the episode, so yeah, it was whatever. But let me know what you think. What 2 people from the knife industry would you have run the country? I thought it was pretty funny. I thought that was a pretty catchy slogan, and they would have my vote. But nonetheless, let's start off. Let's start off with a couple Protechs and a couple Microtechs. And we're going to start this one off with one that doesn't get a whole lot of love on this channel, and it should. That is the Protec TR3. And this is Protech's kind of a flagship automatic out the side. And this one here is particularly my favorite. And I very rarely say that about black blades. But I do have to say that about this one right here. I love the tritium insert. The fish scales, for some reason, I like them. I don't know why, but they just really go with the knife. One of the most beautiful drop point blades out there. And I mean that. This is just an absolutely fantastic blade design, fantastic ergos. This is one of the most complete packages Protech has ever offered in automatics. I do like automatics a lot. They're not my go-to, but this is one that does find itself in my pocket more than the rest. More than the rest for sure. A nice, regular, simple clip. And again, for me, the blade is just the showstopper on this guy. It is absolutely fantastic. I'll try and rumble off some of the prices for you guys on this. I don't have a lot of the specs and details in front of me. This is simply a favorites list to throw you guys some fun American-made entertainment today. I believe this guy was somewhere in the $230-ish range, something like that, where you can find them. These are pretty popular knives and they sell pretty well. But I tell you what, the spring on this guy, as with most Protechs, but this one especially, ooh, it just kicks out and snaps with authority. This is an absolute great one. The Protec TR3, and this is in their tritium insert series collection. Next up, we have one other Protech, and I'd be a fool if I didn't have this Protech on the list because it is one of the best, and it's the Protec Malibu. Protech did everything right with this. Just absolutely everything, from the action to the ergos to the design. Most importantly, the detent. This knife just has an absolute perfect detent for what it is. It's just fantastic. Feels great in the hand. You got a perfect deep carry pocket clip. And I'm starting to see a little more availability on these. I know a lot of people would beg to differ, but if you look back to when they first came out and they were just absolute unicorns, they're a little easier to get now. They still sell out quick, but they're a little more attainable than they were. So we're getting there. We're making improvement. Just got a fantastic CPM 20 CV blade, and it's just really, really good. At some point, I would like to get the Wharncliffe version. This here is the reverse Tonto. The Wharncliffe is sweet. I just want to find a reason to get it. I don't want to get it in the same, makeup as this, just with a regular stonewash blade and aluminum handle, black handle. So we'll wait and see. Hopefully at some point they come out with a a fun variation of that gets my attention enough to buy it. That's the Protech Malibu. Those are your two Protechs for the episode. Let me know, you guys, what's your favorite Protech? And now moving into Microtech, and what kind of 4th of July would it be if we didn't celebrate with almost 4 inches of OTF badassery? And that is the Microtech Combat Troodon. And this one is such a sweet knife. I've always loved Microtech's design language. It just, it screams that it's that kind of a touch of gothic with just badassery. There's no other way to put it. Microtech has always had its own design language. They've stuck to it, and it's served them very well throughout the years. And the Combat Troodon is one of the best examples of that. It's just excellent. I mean, even for a dagger style blade, it's a pretty good, I don't know if I'd say slicer. I probably would say slicer though, because this is still a relatively thin blade. You know, obviously the grind gets thicker pretty quick, as you get with most dagger style blades, unless they're super wide. But it's still a very, very extremely useful tool, and it's a little more fun than the rest because it shoots out like that. It has an awesome actuator, and again, the design is it's just on point. Nice clip with the glass breaker. I don't always love a glass breaker on a knife, but when it comes to a Microtech, that's just one that I think most people have accepted. And I do. I like their glass breakers. They make their glass breakers look nice. They're not just one big pointy piece of metal, which they used to be at one point way back when, but I like the way these look now. They just have that little ball, which is just as effective as a pointy edge of steel that pokes you when you go to grab it. But a lot of good things done here, and most of all, most importantly, the durability on these things are just through the roof. You can literally abuse them, and they're still good to go, and that action is just so fun. I tell you, this is my preferred way of opening a Combat Troodon specifically, because the actuator can be pretty stiff and pretty hard to open sometimes. Open it with the thumb and then close it with the index. Very, very easy. Really enjoy this guy. It's been finding a little more time in my pocket. May even hop in my pocket today, I'm not sure, but that's the Combat Troodon from Microtech. A fantastic offering. And now I would be remiss if I didn't bring in my favorite Microtech of all time, which is the Socom Elite. I always prefer a manual knife, somewhat for the fidget factor, and then also just because I like being a little more manual with my knives most of the time. And this guy, I have not carried him enough regularly. He's a little stiff on me, but as you can see, again, a big blade, a very nice, just bold, tactical Microtech design, and just a very, very good one. Love the stonewash finish on the blade. Could do without the blade branding, but we're not going to bring that up too hard today. But this handle is great. It feels great in hand. I love this ramp here for the thumb. This is another one. It's such a unique knife. I mean, stop and think about it. How many other knives have a design even close to this? Not many. I can't think of any, to be honest. So again, Microtech is a lot more unique in their designs than I think anyone even thinks until you really stop and just compare them with other knives. There's a lot of knives I can pull out of my collection or that I just currently have on hand and put them next to each other and say, oh yeah, I see some similarities there. You can't really do that with a lot of Microtechs. And I think that's one of the reasons so many people like them. Of course, on top of that, they're made in America. They have incredible quality, and they're just a pretty awesome company in general. But that aside, this is the Microtech Socom Elite. It's a good one, and it had to be on the list of my favorite American-made knives. Now, next up, we're going to get into a couple guys that don't come out with a lot of designs, but when they do, they sure make a splash. And this here is the Andrew Demko, I botched it, 80-20.5, one of my favorite knives because of this right there, the Shark Lock, and it is so good. This is not the light. This is the regular 80-20.5, which I highly prefer over the 20.5 if you guys have seen my review of that. But this guy is it's a beefy worker, and it's so strong. It has incredible I mean, I love the ergos on this guy. I mean, I absolutely love them. Maybe I like them more than I really should, but it just feels great in my hand. Love the ramp from the Shark Lock. Love the functionality of the Shark Lock in general. It's just so fun to fidget with a knife, and you have so many ways to fidget. You can middle finger flick it, and you can thumb flick it, and at the end of the day, most importantly, you have a nice slab of 20 CV steel. That's what I have on this one anyway. They have a bunch of other different flavors in the steel. They go from, I think, Crewware to 3V to 20 CV. I think there's one other one out there. I can't remember what all types of steel they've used on this knife so far. I love my 20 CV version. I love everything about this knife. It'll probably always be one of my favorites, I think. It's going to be really hard to not keep this knife in probably my top 5 all-time favorite knives. I'm in love with it. Always have been. Think I always will be. That's the Demko AD20. Yeah, AD20. Did I call this? I may have called this the AD20.5 when it first came out. My bad. This is the AD20 if I did. I don't know. I'll find out when I go back and watch this and probably laugh at myself, as you guys all will too. But the Demko AD20. Next up, we have, this is a more recent one, and this is the Hoback Knives Sumo. This one got a lot of criticism from some people and a lot of praise from some people. I'm more on the praise side. I like this knife a whole lot. Love the design of it. The more I've carried it, the more I appreciate it because it is a super fun fidgety knife, just super smooth. And really the only thing that this is missing that knocks it below the Malibu as far as fidgetiness is really just the detent. I did wish it had a little more stronger of a detent. I'm okay with the flipper tap, guys. You know, at first it wasn't the best thing in the world, but it's not that hard to make work. You know, this area down here, do you feel it on your fingertip? Yeah, you do. You definitely do. I'd be lying if I said you didn't. But I've gotten over it because I like it that much. It is great. And even if I don't ever flip it again, I can still always middle finger flick it, which is just as nice. Actually, 5 times nicer, to be totally honest. Love the middle finger flicking action on this knife, whether you're using the milled out area right here, which is, in my opinion, the best way to middle finger flick it, or the thumb studs. And of course, you can just thumb flick it, but you have just a sweet design, 20 CV steel, a very unique design, and it is actually, contrary to what a lot of people say, I find this to be a relatively slicey knife because it comes down to a screaming thin edge. I want to say it was 13 12 or 13 thousandths behind the edge. Did somewhat remind me of a Shuragorov, the way it comes from somewhat of a, I wouldn't say thick stock, but just how quick it gets thin down there, and it gets to a pretty thin edge. Really love the blade on this guy. Would a hollow grind make it better? Maybe, but a hollow grind should not be on this knife. This knife was made to have a flat grind. It is an excellent tip to work with, and it's just a really sweet design from the back spacer. I can't say I love the clip, but it works, and in this position right here, I don't feel it at all. And to be totally honest, guys, the size of this knife, there's not a whole lot of positions that I'm gonna be holding this knife in. You know, I could do something like this, but again, if I do this, I don't feel the clip isn't even touching my hand, so there's nothing to complain about. This position right here is just fine. That clip disappears in this position. 0 hot spot in this position right here, which is what I always use the knife in. And I'm really happy with it. I'm starting to love this knife. I can't say I 100% love it yet, but I really, really like it regardless. And it's not going anywhere because I really do. I like having unique designs in my collection. I think that's I think that's what a lot of people go for, is, you know, their favorite designers. And you always have to have a few of those unique pieces, and this is one of them for me. The Hoback Knives Sumo, a fantastic piece. Look it up next time there's more out there. I don't know if you can find them at a whole lot of places right now because the run just sold through, but I'm sure there'll be more coming back, and they should, because it's a great knife. The Hoback Knives Sumo. Next up here, we have one that's a lot more common, I think a lot more people know about. This is the TRM Atom. And really, what's not to like about TRM? They're a smaller mom and pop shop in the Massachusetts area, and they just make phenomenal, thin, light, great everyday carry knives with fully American-made and sourced products, and they're just fantastic. They're just fantastic. They don't have 50 different models, but they don't need them. They've got a handful of models, and they're all fantastic. This is my favorite, the TRM Atom, and the scales, the system they have of swapping out the scales is just amazing. You know, this is not the cheapest place to buy a knife from, guys, and it shouldn't be, because they put a lot of time and effort, and they're a small operation. So, you know, you get what you pay for, and you get a lot of quality with these guys. A lot. I'd highly recommend them. They can be hard to get sometimes, pretty much all the time, but they're worth the hunt. They're worth the wait. And I think very few people would ever be disappointed with a TRM knife. And this is just a great one here. I do need to get different scales for this. I am in desperate need of new scales. I've had these for quite a while, and they're due. I don't know if I want some regular burlap micarta or the carbon fiber. Those carbon fiber scales that they're starting to offer more and more, I think are really up my alley. So I may have to give those a try. But nonetheless, just fantastic action. This knife, for the size of it, and it's not a small knife, it's 3.5-inch blade. So, you know, I think that can give you a good idea of how big the handle is. Probably a 4 to 4.5-inch blade handle. So, you know, you got a lot of knife, and this thing disappears in the pocket. I mean, absolutely disappears in the pocket. So, one I would highly recommend. I'm sure a lot of you have already checked them out. If you haven't, get on it, because it's a great knife, the TRM Atom. Next up, we're going to start a little string here of some pretty well-known knives. This one's from Spyderco. It's my favorite. It's the Shaman. It's the Shaman, and we won't talk about the price today, because today we're just talking about the great things of this knife. And where do I even start? We'll start with the blade. It's the fantastic Spyderco style blade. It's got the Spidey hole. It's got the killer ergos. And Metal Complex made a really good point a few days ago on an episode he made of the Shaman, where he built one. Shamans are one of, if not the easiest Spyderco to take apart. They're very easy to take apart. Sometimes Spyderco can make me throw myself out a window because of the excessive blue Loctite they use and other things that they do, but they really just nailed the engineering and then the assembly of the Shaman, because it is simple. As long as you don't have too much blue Loctite, you're good to go. It's a very easy knife to take apart and put back together, which makes it very friendly to make your own custom builds, which a lot of people, including MC, have been doing. And they've been doing a pretty sweet job of it. But this here is just, I don't think I'd ever change anything about this. I may get a different clip someday, but you know, the Shaman is weird, because when it comes to Spyderco clips, I'm not always a big fan. But for some reason, on this Shaman, I don't mind this clip. It's just the standard Spyderco clip that it comes with. I don't mind it. I don't know why. It doesn't make a lot of sense. But there's a lot of things I do that don't make a lot of sense to me, so I stopped questioning them. But I just really like this knife as is. Love these scales from Sharp Dressed Knives. And I don't know if I'll ever change anything about this one. It really was a home run for me. When I put those scales on, I thought, you know what? For me, this one's done. We'll see where it goes down the road, but really, really happy with this. Don't have a whole lot of blue knives, because I'm not a huge fan of just straight up blue scale knives, and I get a lot, I get some blue, I get a lot of different blues, and for me, this one just really works. But you can also front flip the Shaman. If you don't know, now you do. Give it a try. Pretty fun. And again, it's just a great knife. There's nothing I would really change about this. Love the ergos. I love a lot of things from Spyderco, guys. Spyderco is really, they are. I'd be lying if I said they weren't one of my all-time favorite brands. So they're just absolutely great. The Shaman is up there as the best for me. And I hope someday they can find a way to make them a little more affordable. And I think they'll get there. Who knows? I'm still waiting. I'm sure at some point there'll be the lightweight version of it. You know it's coming. The only question is when. But as for now, I am super extremely happy with this one. Love my Shaman. Let me know, do you guys have a Shaman? Do you think it's the best Spyderco? I think a lot of people have already told me, but it's always a good question to ask, because Spyderco is a very popular company. So there's that, the Spyderco Shaman, and we're moving on in the list. And next up, we have the Benchmade of the episode, And I think I've said this before, but I love Benchmade, but they don't have a lot of designs that really pop out to me. This is definitely one of them. It's the Benchmade 940 Osborne. And this one has, I think a lot of people know now, has a little extra special place in my heart because it was the knife that was in my pocket when I proposed to my now wife. And I just love this one. I love the action. You don't always get that super buttery drop shot action with the Benchmade, but I do with this one, and I think that's one of the reasons I really like it. So smooth, absolutely drop shut. You can middle finger flick it. You can do just about anything you want with it, and it just looks great. I love that purple in the back, kind of gives you that Joker color with the green and purple, and it's just awesome. It really is. This is one of my most highly recommended Benchmade knives of all time. It makes a good gentleman's knife. It makes a good casual knife. It's just a good knife. So you really can't beat it. I want to say these guys come in at about 170-ish, 175-ish, something like that. And they're very easy to get. You can get these guys pretty much anywhere. The Osborne is probably never going away, and it better not, because it's one that Benchmade really put Benchmade on the map. Or, it's one of their icons. It's one of their cemented knives that I think will be around forever, as it should be. It's a great one. They now have a mini version of this, which comes in at just under 3 inches. This one here is at like 3.35 or 3.4-ish inches, which is what I prefer. Really love this model, and I would recommend it to you, the Benchmade 940 Osborne. Next up, we have one that doesn't get a lot of time on the channel, and it should. Excellent knife. That is the Spartan Harsey folder. And this is my souvenir from 2020, the year that, for me, actually was really good. I have to admit, I had a lot of really good things happen for me in 2020. Got a new job, I got engaged, I got COVID, but hey, that really wasn't that big of a deal. And it was just a good year for me. It's a year I'll never forget, for good reasons. But this is a nice little souvenir from it. Spartan makes some fantastic blades, guys. Their full-size Spartan Harsey folder is one of my favorite knives of all time on washers. This guy is on washers, and it is super smooth. And this design right here, in commemoration of COVID, do not fear, my dear, with the plague doctor. You got the toxic symbol up here, S45 VN steel, which is another reason I wanted to try it. I had never had a knife with S45 VN. And then on the back, you have all the little viruses floating around. Love that antique finish. It's kind of like a greenish blue finish over I cannot speak this morning. Anodized titanium with some anodized titanium screws. I haven't started drinking yet, I promise. I'm still sober. Now, that will not be the case here in a few hours, but yeah, I'm just struggling this morning. But just a fantastic knife, guys. It breaks in so good. This knife is never going to be drop shutty, but it still has a fantastic action, has a nice sound and feel. This is definitely a knife made to work and use hard. You're not going to break this knife. It is made to beat on. And they did a really good job, even though I can't seem to do it right now, under the camera, of making it easy to deploy. And it is easy to deploy, guys. I'm just an idiot. But you can thumb roll it, and you can do all sorts of things. I could probably stand to put a little grease in this guy too. But regardless, the Spartan Harsey folder is a fantastic knife, and it is by far and away one of my favorite USA-made knives. The problem was I got such a cool knife in commemoration of 2020, I don't want to carry it that much. So I may just have to buy another regular Spartan Harsey folder, one that I'm not afraid to get dirty and show some wear and tear, because this here, to me, this is almost just an art knife. It's not. It is an extremely functional, heavy-use knife, but I just love this design so much. I don't want to wear it all up, but maybe I should start doing that. Who knows? But this is the Spartan Harsey folder, a fantastic knife made in America. And do not sleep on Spartan knives. Their premium knives like this one here are absolutely fantastic, and I'd recommend them to anyone. Next up, we are getting toward the end of our list. 4 more knives to go, and this would not be a best knives made in America if we didn't have a Chris Reeve knife on here. And this one here is my favorite Chris Reeve knife. This is the Umnumzaan. And the only issue I have with this Umnumzaan right now, and it's not a big one, it was caused by me. This is not something that Chris Reeve did. I took all my lanyards off them because I just don't like lanyards anymore. I'm completely over the lanyard. I was okay having lanyards on my Chris Reeve knives, and I'm not anymore. They had to go. So I got rid of them, but now back here where the lanyard is, yeah, this stupid, and not this back here, the lanyard pivot, it makes this super annoying sound. Now, I've heard a lot of people say you just put a little touch of Loctite or some type of glue back there. I just want to do something to it that doesn't devalue the knife. Although I will say this actually, you can't really see it, but there are some marks on the blade, and I have carried this one quite a bit. I'm never going to sell this because I love this knife, but yeah, got to do something to fix that that little lanyard pivot back there. But this knife, I mean, you cannot argue that this is one of the best hard use, just built to last knives ever. It is just fantastic. Love this blade design. It's at the end of the day, it's really just a harpoon blade, but I love the lines leading up to it. I like how the swedge up here, that the harpoon swedge, is almost sharpened. It's not sharpened, but it is definitely not chamfered a whole lot. I mean, it's really sweet. It gives it a nice little touch of character and attitude at the end of the knife, and it has a fantastic edge on it. S35 VN steel, which some people argue Chris Reeve does not heat treat them hard enough, but I don't know enough about steels to really argue that, because it also, one of the reasons he said he does it is it makes it easier to resharpen. So for someone like me who is an average at best sharpener, I can appreciate that. So whatever, it's still a great knife, and it is an incredible design. For the size of it, it's really not super heavy either. I mean, I'm okay with the weight of this knife. I don't even know what I want to say it comes in at probably like, I would say somewhere between the high 3s and mid 4 ounces. I'm not a scale, and I'm horrible at estimating scales or estimating weights of something, but it's really not that bad. Ergos are great. Looks are through the roof, and guys, it's Chris Reeve. I mean, it's made to last a lifetime with super premium materials, so you really can't go wrong with one. I like the way they did the frame lock access, nice easy tab that sticks out, and it also, most importantly, it doesn't really affect the ergos that much. You feel it, but it doesn't bother my finger. So if it doesn't bother my finger, I don't complain about it. And that's the case with this. Very nice jimping. Like that they put the little rings in the thumb stud. That does help it to deploy for me. And it also makes a very quiet opening. Very quiet. That's actually one of the louder openings I've ever heard on this knife. It's usually really, really quiet. But no, just love this knife. Love the design. One of the best knives ever made in America. And in my opinion, which some people would argue, my favorite Chris Reeve. This slightly edges out the Sebenza for me. Love this Umnumzaan. And there's that one. And now we're going to get into a little piece of perfection here. And when I said that, everyone probably knows what it is because you guys know what's coming. The Koenig Arius. This guy is made in America. It is made in Idaho, to be specific, and it is CNC perfection. You just have the excellent milling, the excellent action, the sexy lines. This, in my opinion, I've said it before, it's probably the best folding knife of all time. If I had to pick one, and I hate doing that because there's so many great ones out there, but if I had to pick one, it would indeed be the Koenig Arius. And I'm already going to tell you guys right now, I prefer this full size over the mini. I haven't held a mini. I'm sure the mini's fantastic. I'm sure I'll love it if and when I do get one, but I like bigger knives. And this here, it carries in the pocket so nice. It's not heavy. I have no reason to want a smaller version of this other than the fact that I want one. But I think I would still prefer, I'm very, very confident that I would prefer this large size over it. The detent is just absolutely perfect and nailed. and it's one of the knives I had in my pocket on my wedding day, so you know this knife is always going to get a little extra love from me, and it's just fantastic. If you want to get a knife that feels like the price tag, which I'm going to say this is a $650 knife. It is expensive, but it is worth it. It is absolutely worth it. And it's definitely the grail knife for me. I can't think of any other production knives that are as much of a grail knife as this one. There's a couple customs I'd like to get someday. Who knows if that'll ever happen. But this is just perfection. It's just perfection for me. And the fact that it's made in America is just the cherry on top. So Koenig knives, keep doing what you're doing because they're doing things really damn good. That's the Koenig Arius, and we are down to 2 knives on this list, and these 2 knives are coming from the same manufacturer, and the U.S., guys, has a lot of glory days, a lot of things to look back on that make this country extra special, and when I think of glory days, you know what I think of? I think of ZT, because that's what they're known for anymore is their glory days, and that's what you have here. I'm going to pull them both out right now because I'll just talk about them both at once to try and shorten this video a little. I'm already at over a half hour. This is the ZT-0850 and the ZT-0640, my 2 favorite ZT knives of all time, by far and away. And these are the glory years of ZT, guys. These are the ZT knives that I will remember ZT by, because who knows if they'll ever come out with more great designs like this. We'll start with the 0640 because it's the one that you see most of the channel. Real quick overview: super sexy blade, sharp dress knives, micarta scales, Lynch deep carry clip. Love the thumb disc. The thumb disc actually works fantastic on this. No issue whatsoever when it comes to deployment, even though I can't do it on the first time and really disappointing, but I just love this knife. Will never not love this knife. Another knife that will always be in my collection because for me, it's just one of the best ever made. A collaboration with Ernest Emerson, a really, really good one. You can still get this knife. This is still available just about everywhere. Just search ZT-0640 and it will pop up at all sorts of different places. $248. And they don't come like this. This is customized. I customized this one. It will come with some green carbon fiber scales and a really, really crappy clip. So you'll want to get the Lynch clip or some type of deep carry clip because the one it comes with is absolute garbage. But it's still a fantastic knife that I absolutely love, the ZT-0640. And now the last one on the list, the ZT-0850, a collaboration with Dmitry Sinkovich and Todd Rexford. I should have known that. But one of the coolest sheep's foot blades I've ever seen. Maybe it's not a sheep's foot blade because it does have some of a point. I'm going to call it a sheep's foot blade. I'm going to call it a modified sheep's foot blade with awesome black carbon fiber. You got the blacked out barrel spacer back here that kind of has the 6-shooter theme. Very nice pocket clip and a sub frame lock in the carbon fiber, which is one of the things that put ZT on the map before they fell off the map. Just a great knife. Some of the best action on washers I've ever experienced, and just a sexy knife. I usually, again, you're getting to black on the blade that I don't always love, but I love that black flat on the satin. Ooh, it's so good. It's so good. ZT needs to set these up around their office and just look at these for a while and get some better ideas. But this is absolutely fantastic. Love this knife. The best ZT has to offer is right here, guys, in these 2 knives. And with that, that's the end of the list. I hope you guys enjoyed this one. I think we covered some very, very good American-made knives. I hope you guys, most importantly, remember how lucky you are to live in this country, because there's a lot of screwed up things that happen in this country on a daily basis. But at the end of the day, it's still the greatest country in the world, and you have freedom every day to do and say what you want. So go out there, enjoy your day, drink responsibly, blow crap up responsibly, because it's really hard to fidget with knives with only 4 fingers. Regardless of what finger you're missing, it's really hard to fidget with a knife with 4 fingers. So don't hurt yourself. Go out, exercise your freedom of speech, but don't be a dick, and just have a great, safe 4th of July. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. Hope you have a great holiday weekend, and I will see you on the next one. I'm out.